Okay, welcome everybody. So for today's interview, I have Sam Mittal and Jane Dorman. We're going to be going over some questions related to college admissions, specifically within the engineering field. And I think a lot of these could apply to also many other STEM related careers as well. But just going over what you can expect when you're applying for colleges and any advice that they can give to us. So my name is Nicole Felderman and I will be asking the questions, and then I'll pass it over to Jane if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Great. Hello, everyone. I'm Jane Dorman. I'm the Director of Admissions and Student Life in the College of Engineering at the University of Iowa.
And then Sam, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sam Mittal. I'm a third-year chemical engineering student here at the University of Iowa, originally from Bartlett, Illinois.
Awesome. Great having you two on this call today. So the first question I wanted to dive into, and a lot of the questions that I'll be asking today are questions that we commonly get from SWE girls or just prospective high school students in general. So first question I have is, what can a high school student do to prepare for engineering? So for instance, a lot of the times I get asked if being in robotics helps, like the first robotic team. What types of things can prepare them for engineering? And Jane, I'll kick it off to you first.
Okay, thanks. There's a lot of things that you can do to prepare for an engineering major, but they're pretty obvious things, like take as much math as you can, take as much science as you can, join clubs or organizations if your school or community has those. Look for classes that your school might offer, like Project Lead the Way classes or any sort of like engineering kind of classes, robotics clubs, things like that. Fantastic opportunities. You can look for summer camps. You can look for books. You can look on the web for information. There's a lot of information out there. But I think that really what's going to prepare you the most is taking as much math and science in high school as you can. Sam, would you add anything to that?
I would just say making sure that you have the passion for engineering definitely helps you get through it too, preparing yourself. It's a very rigorous curriculum. You get yourself involved with a lot of different scenarios. So having those critical thinking skills from being in different team projects, it doesn't even have to be necessarily engineering related, but just allowing yourself to really think outside the box and prepare for any disaster scenario or things of that nature would be very helpful for preparing.
I want to just add one more thing, is that engineering is a little bit elusive. Like not everyone understands what engineering actually is. So the more that you can learn about what engineering is, and this would be like by reading, by talking to people, by looking at things online, the clearer the goal is, I think the better it is in preparation.
Perfect. Yes, I agree with that. So you talked about math and science being something that's important to focus on. And so my next question was, what level of coursework or math does a student need to get to in order to be competitive to apply for the engineering program? So is there a certain level that you guys are looking for when applying?
Yes, students for the University of Iowa College of Engineering need to have had at least 4 years of math in high school. So it's 2 years of algebra, a year of geometry, and a year of higher math. And my preference would be the pre-calculus calculus path for math, and not really the statistics path.
Sam, would you agree with that or have anything to add? I know that's a pretty straightforward question.
No, I do agree. Having that calculus background when you're in high school really prepares you for that first engineering math course here at Iowa. It's basically like almost a repeat. So you're getting all of that basis and good, strong understanding of it when you're in high school, so then you can apply it and get a better grade when you're in college. So
I have something to add with regard to that too, in that unless a student is identified early, they can't actually get to calculus in high school. So I don't want people to be worried about that. It's not going to set you back. Just like getting through the pre-calculus as your 4th year of math will be okay. Just if you're able to go on for a 5th or farther, then do the calculus instead of statistics. You'll take statistics as an engineering student, but it's a higher level statistics, and really we just want you to kind of start off on the calculus path instead of taking that sort of diversionary track with statistics.
Yeah, that's a good clarification that you don't necessarily need it, but if you are able to take it, then, and even if you are able to take it too, there might be a couple, or the first calculus class that you could potentially get out of because you already have taken it in high school too. So that's another opportunity as well. The more advanced you get, the maybe the less classes that you would have to take in college for that math course. Another question I have is, if students know that they want to go into engineering but don't necessarily know which major, so whether it's biomedical or chemical or which type of specialty that they want to go into, is that okay? And when do students typically pick when they're going to go into, maybe switch from like a general to more specific engineering major? And Jane, I'll have you start again.
Okay. So how we do it in engineering at Iowa is that students are admitted directly into the College of Engineering as incoming first-year students. And you can be admitted directly into the major that you want. We have 8 majors: biomed, chemical, civil, environmental, computer science and engineering, electrical, industrial, mechanical engineering. We also have a 9th major, sort of. We have undeclared engineering, which is something that students can start in. You just can't graduate as an undeclared engineering student. You ultimately have to choose one of those 8. Our students take the same year in common at the beginning, so it gives you time to kind of figure this out. But one thing that we do just really quite differently than many engineering programs is that students are admitted directly, and it's just this one step for admission, that you're admitted into the college. You're free to be in any major that you want. You can change your mind at any point. It's just like your hours. So success focused, really.
And Sam, yeah, did you choose your major right away, or what was your path there, or how did you choose to?
Yeah, so I did directly come into the University of Iowa as a chemical engineering student, but with that, you also have like things that we'll get into later potentially about focus areas. So you can tailor your engineering education while you're here at Iowa to pick what you're most passionate about within your discipline, because engineering's super broad already. That's why we have disciplines. And then from that further, you have to like tailor what you're interested in, because so many things you can do with any major. But I did originally start as a chemical engineer. And that was simply because I had such a strong interest in chemical like understandings, like chemistry, and eventually wanted to go into pharmaceuticals. So I thought chemical engineering would be the way to go. But I was very back and forth between chemical and biomedical. So getting to have that experience my freshman year in first year seminar, getting to talk to faculty members that are in the different disciplines really helped me like narrow my focus into chemicals.
I have something I want to add to that too, that I teach a class that's called Engineering Success for first year students. And one of the things, in fact, this is what we're doing in the class right now, is that we're having faculty members come and talk about all the different majors so that students get, again, a little bit more information about those majors as they go along. And I want to just comment to students too, that I know that students feel oftentimes a lot of pressure, like I have to decide my major, which I think sometimes 17-year-olds feel like is, I have to decide what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And it feels kind of overwhelming. And that's not really what I would encourage you to think about. I would encourage you to think, let me find an interesting place to get started. And then just be open to opportunities that come your way, and you will figure it out.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. Even if there's a pressure of, oh, I have to finish in 4 years or 5 years or whatever it is, a lot of companies will look just for general engineering knowledge, and then you can kind of specialize after that as well. So for instance, my friend did mechanical engineering, but then she ended up doing more of like a biomedical engineering position at her company, and they just taught her the things that might have been gaps. So even if you do end up getting a chemical engineering degree and then do something totally different, it's usually just the foundation that really counts. And then it's more what you're interested in and passionate about, I would say. Okay, so my next question is, as high school students prepare for college, is there anything that they can be doing in high school that maybe are more challenges in college that they can prepare for? So if there's certain like study habits that they can get into or different things that will prepare them for their first year, do you guys have any advice on that? And Sam, I'll have you start.
I think one of the most important things to be aware of is like time management. So like getting those skills started in high school, understanding like, oh, I need to make sure that I set up this much time to study for this exam because it's coming up, or anything of that nature is a really good skill to get during your high school time. So then you're kind of like have a framework when you're entering college on how you want to split up your time. Besides that, like being aware of what's going on at all times in all of your classes is also super helpful. So having a planner or something just to be aware of everything that's going on, another super helpful skill.
I naturally have some things to add. One thing about time management is I think that that is actually a key skill to be successful in engineering in college and life. I also think it's a little bit hard to practice in high school if you don't have a lot of things that you feel like you're managing. So know that you will get better at that because you will have, especially in our college of engineering, you know, we say be an engineer and something more. And in order to be able to do engineering and something else, another activity, music or athletics or student orgs or whatever, you have to be able to manage your time well. So you'll get good at this. A couple of other things I think that high school students can do is to just get in the habit of doing all of your homework and getting that done, that sort of personal discipline of getting work done. Occasionally I talk to students who say, yeah, I'm not very good at getting my homework done in high school. They're high school students. And I think this is like a little bit of a red flag. Like you will need to get your homework done in college and engineering. And the other thing that students, I think, can practice and is asking for help, going in and talking to faculty members, or if there's tutors available at the high school, just that kind of normalizing that it's okay to ask for help, because that's really important. You can't do everything on your own.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I was at our teaching assistant's office like every other day trying to get help, and it really helped with my GPA and just academics in general. So I think that's good, definitely good advice. And then aside from academics, what other things when students are applying do you typically, or does the College of Engineering typically look for? So not just focus on academics, but what other things, we kind of touched on this already, but what other things do you look at outside of academics? And Sam, you can talk about what you did outside of academics to kind of beef up your scholarship admission or college admission application. So Jane, I'll have you start.
Okay, so with the University of Iowa, what we look at is actually just the academic information. We just look at GPA, a Regent Admission Index, which looks at core classes in ACT or SAT, and it's a formula, and which high school courses that you have taken. That's really just for admission. That's what we're looking for. But when you're then thinking about how can you best position yourself to be successful in engineering, or what about scholarships? Think about leadership opportunities, think about getting involved, thinking about academic curiosity. You know, all of those things I think really can advantage you in multiple ways. But as far as like admission requirements, we're just going to look straightforward just at those academic credentials.
Yeah, so Jane touched a little bit about seeking leadership opportunities while you're in high school, and I would definitely stress that that's super important because you're going to find yourself in lots of situations in college where you're trying to like find something to do, because again, like once you're in college again, you're just building up your resume again so that you can get a job after college too. So finding chances for you to start your leadership skills as a high school student is super important. So myself personally, I was on our student academy council. It's basically just like a mini student government where I like worked my way up through my 4 years. So I started as a representative, moved on to becoming, what was I? A historian, and then vice president my senior year. So I really got the opportunity to like reach out and listen to students' opinions and implement them into the academy and make sure that everything was going well. So in addition to that, I was involved in our high school marching band and several different opportunities for outreach. So I worked with like the local elementary schools and middle schools to help students like prepare themselves again for coming to high school or coming to college now eventually. So, and I've just always found myself in those kinds of positions. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely pursue it, find those leadership opportunities, and really, take any opportunity that comes your way.
You know, kind of going back to one of the other questions about, I said it's difficult to practice time management. But in a way, you could practice time management by getting more things on your plate, like in addition to your classes and that you're doing your homework, if you're involved in a leadership activity, or if you're involved in marching band or in athletics, or if you've got a job, you've got things on your plate that you have to, manage. So I guess that would be a way that you could add some things.
Yeah, and even what Sam was saying with, you're not only using that foundation for applying for college, but also for applying for jobs. So I think even the first year for the career fair, I referenced all high school activities because I had just started college and I didn't have as much experience with those types of or just different outreach or leadership positions in college. So yeah, that's really helpful to have on your resume as a starting point for sure. And then we kind of touched on scholarships too. Is there any engineering specific scholarships, or do you have any, I guess, scholarship advice overall for students on that process for helping out with financials?
Yes.
Jane, I'll let you start. Yeah.
Oh, well, good. Since I'm starting, right? I'm jumping right in. Scholarships are important. College is really expensive. And I think that that's just important to kind of acknowledge right up front that it's expensive. It's an investment in yourself. And going for something like engineering is going to have really good payback for you. So even if you need to get into debt a little bit to pay for your engineering education, you will, with an engineering degree, be able to pay back your debt in pretty quick order. Also, co-ops and internships where engineers get work experience while they're students pay very well, and that can also be a way of financing your education. With regard to scholarships, the College of Engineering at Iowa, we give scholarships just on a one-year basis. So every year is sort of like a new year with regard to scholarships, which is nice in that if you didn't get a scholarship as you're an incoming student, it doesn't mean that there's no more scholarship opportunities for you. Each year, there are possibilities, and there are different kinds of scholarships. When you're an incoming student, as soon as you're admitted, you can look at, on the University of Iowa admissions site, there's a scholarships portal where you can go and you can see all these different scholarships that you can apply for, and the engineering scholarships are listed there if you are admitted into engineering. And you want to be sure to meet the deadline, which is January 1st. And that is like every year, that is the deadline. So that's what you want to keep in your mind of January 1st. Scholarship advice sort of in general, ask everywhere about scholarships. I think that there are certainly scholarships that universities give out and colleges of engineering give out, but there are also big national scholarships, SWE scholarships, local organizations have scholarships. I encourage high school students to check with their guidance office on a regular basis because they are being sent scholarship information. Some schools are better at distributing it out to students, and others it's there. So I just say, go in on a regular basis, like Tuesday, fourth period, you've got open and you're going to go to the guidance office and say, I'm looking for scholarships. And they're going to start to be like looking for you because you're looking for these, but apply lots of places because really your odds of getting a scholarship increase exponentially if you apply for one, right? And you don't apply, no chance. And it gets a little frustrating, I know, because scholarship applications, they seem to want the same information, but they want it in a slightly different format. And so it's not like you can just like make 50 copies of a scholarship application and just send them out, but it's that you have to kind of tailor make each one. But think about that this is, again, sort of a time investment in your future. I had a student a few years ago, and he said, oh, I just got so tired of filling out scholarship applications. And there was one scholarship, was like, this is just like $500, like, who cares about this? And he just sort of like tossed it aside. And then he goes, it probably won't even take me an hour to fill out that scholarship application. And if I get that scholarship, that's like $500 an hour. And it's like whatever you can kind of do to keep yourself applying for scholarships, because the more things that you apply for, the better odds you have of getting things.
Definitely. And just for sake of time, I'm going to jump to the next one too. I don't know, Sam, if you had a thought on that, but I just wanted to end, we're getting close to time. So I just wanted to end with a question of just any general advice to high schoolers who are applying for engineering school. Excuse me. And then If there's anything that you can comment on in terms of diversity. So since this is, excuse me, since this is SWE focused, Society of Women Engineers, we wanted to see if there's anything that the college is doing from a diversity and inclusion perspective to try to get women involved in the college. And then same if you've had any experience too with different organizations that you've tried to join that are more women focused to hone in on that side of things. I know you're involved in SWE too, so just those two things, general advice and then diversity targets that you guys have been working on.
I'm going to let Sam go first because she has class to go to in like 6 minutes. So, and I don't. So go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I can touch on that a little bit. So I'm actually the president of our Society of Women Engineers chapter here at Iowa. And I know that we try to do a lot of outreach, trying to reach out, especially to first year students when they first join the college. We have a thing called SWE Week. So it's just a week full of different outreach events trying to increase our membership because we are still a very small women percentage in the College of Engineering. So we try to reach out and help each other grow and really establish like a network and community of female engineers here at Iowa. So I know my first year, I went to like all of our SWE Week events and I really felt at home. Like it was my first place where I found like a group of people where I could actually like feel comfortable around. Because it does get tricky. You are in very, depending on what major you choose, you do have several males in your class and it gets tricky because you're just like, oh my God, who am I like friends with, like what's going on, especially as a first year, you don't really know too many people. So you get that opportunity to really network through Society of Women Engineers. We also have other programs throughout the college where you have, like national organizations for your specific discipline. So several organizations try to reach out again to their female engineers to make sure that they're feeling well valued and respected. So lots of opportunities for diversity and inclusion there. And just to end off with some general advice to high schoolers, engineering's tough, but the great thing about engineering too is that everyone's kind of going through it at the same time. So you can like find your family, find your friends here at the college or wherever you choose to go, and then really get to build that networking and build those skills of kind of like almost divide and conquer, but also like you're all dividing your own tasks because you'll have friends in all different majors. So finding the people that you enjoy hanging out with, enjoy studying with, and make that family and really find your home on your college of choice.
Thanks, Sam. I know if you have to go to class, that's okay.
Thanks, Sam.
So what I would add with regard to diversity and inclusion, Sam said the small percentage of women in engineering, although the University of Iowa actually has a higher percentage of women than many engineering programs do. We have about 28% of our students are women in engineering. The national average is lower than that, and you will find that there are many engineering programs that are much lower than we are. We would sure like to be 50% women, and we're sort of like going towards that direction, but we're not there yet. But know that you still are going to be surrounded by quite a lot of women in engineering. And some things that are real advantageous, I think, for women in our engineering program, some things that I think really appeal to women. We have a very team-based engineering program, very collaborative. It's not like competitive, like cutthroat sort of competitive. It's people working together, going through these hard things and helping each other be successful. So I think that's very encouraging, I think, for women. There are other organizations from a diversity point of view. There's a Female Alliance for Civil Engineers, or FACE. There is National Society for Black Engineers, a Society for Hispanic Professional Engineers. There's a lot of different things out there for kind of addressing diversity and inclusion, right? Because it's nice to be with other people that are facing some of the same challenges that you are. So look for those. Also look for other organizations to get involved in that just bring you right to the heartbeat of the engineering program, or things that are inspiring for you. And maybe it's the 3D Club, or maybe it's the Concrete Canoe Competition, or maybe it's the Rocket Club, or whatever, that there's a lot of things. And I guess from an advice point of view, I would say visit every place that you're seriously thinking about going to. and try on those campuses and say, can I imagine myself here? Do I think I'll be happy here? Do I think I'll be successful? Talk to students every place that you go, because students are really good at telling you just sort of like how it is. And go to the place that calls out to your heart. And if it's the University of Iowa, wonderful, our paths will cross again. And if it's somewhere else, that's okay. There are great engineering programs in our country. My recommendation is that women, you make fantastic engineers. You bring so much to that problem-solving table. And our world is full of problems. And we need more smart problem solvers to help with fixing our world. So be brave, be courageous, be hardworking, and know that you are going into a field that there's going to be incredible rewards for all the things that you do, and you can actually make a big difference as an engineer. So my thought is find the right school, but stay with engineering, So thanks for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jane, and then Sam, who had to run off to class. But I really appreciate you guys both being on and answering the questions that I had. And then if we have any follow-up questions, I'll be sure to reach out and ask those too. But I really appreciate you hopping on today.
Yeah, it's great to see you again, Nicole. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.